Everybody ready to turn in your drafts tomorrow, or getting ready, hopefully? Hopefully on your pre-writing. So just a little review to start with. We've already talked about the pre-writing stage where you gather information, you think about the purpose of the assignment, right? The things we're practicing with this assignment in relation to writing are considering your audience, right? What's going to appeal to a potential employer and make them want to hire you. And also parallelism, which we're going to talk more about today. I introduced yesterday at the end of the class briefly. So we're going to go more over that, because it's also very commonly used in essays. When you're writing lists, you want to keep them parallel so that they don't, if they break the pattern, they tend to jar your reader, and then your writing isn't as smooth. And we do tend to use a lot of lists when we write, whether it's of objects or ideas. You know, we tend to list things in threes. It's interesting, isn't it? I find it interesting. So we've tried listing, clustering, right? Zero drafts. The last one I'd like to talk about is the reporter's questions. Does anyone know what I mean by the reporter's questions? Anybody take a journalism class? What are the reporter's questions? What questions does a reporter ask to prepare for a story? Anybody remember? Or you may not have heard of it if you haven't had journalism. Excuse me. No one has heard of these before. It's like, who's involved? What happened? Where did it happen? So who, what, where, when, why, sometimes how. Okay. Some of these things overlap, just like all the brainstorming that we've been working on, right? So let's try it out. Let me open up a document here. Sometimes brainstorming, you like one method and you stick with it, and sometimes one method doesn't work, so it's good to know that you have others. And they kind of sometimes highlight different things. So let's say you're, excuse me, brainstorming about who's involved with this current assignment. Let me show you here. So who are the people involved with your resume and cover letter? Remember, this is a brainstorming, so there's no wrong answer. Who are the people this matters to? Remember, we're considering audience. Who's our audience? Teachers are hired often by committees. It's not just one person that's looking over our qualifications. You might have several, including students. I was on, when I was in college, I was on a couple hiring committees, and we looked through resumes before we decided who we would interview. So I was just a normal student who was looking at the resumes of people who might be teachers. So come on, help me out, guys. Who's involved? You are, right?
Wouldn't the company who you are applying to,
Excellent. Yeah.
or like, yeah, or past jobs?
So the organization or company, depending on whether it's like you're doing an internship or a scholarship or, yeah, or actual job. So yeah, there might be the human resources manager. Sometimes they see things and have criteria before it even gets to the person who's hiring. The person who's hiring, right? Sometimes your fellow coworkers. Okay. So you just kind of think as many people, and then that helps also establish your audience. So just like this is a more significant factor for this piece of writing. So what is involved? Listing, education, job training, employment experiences, educational experiences and projects. And you know, you can, it's just a way of looking at, then you know, okay, these are each factors that I have to consider.
Why do you want this job?
That is an excellent question. So why do you want the job, and why do they want to hire you? Why are they looking for an employee? When, yeah, you're gonna look at things like deadlines. Maybe the history of the company. How old is the company? Remember, we were talking about you can kind of tailor your resume toward, maybe you have a very conservative looking resume that's very traditional, versus if you're in a more creative field, versus the jobs can be more traditional versus more creative. Sometimes if you really want that job, you want to go the extra mile, you're going to go as deep as even looking at how to design a resume to appeal to the audience. When is the application due? Excuse me. So who, what, when?
Um,
Go ahead.
full time or middle time of the day?
Yes. I mean, when does it start? Good. Where this can overlap, right? Back to the company that you're working for, or I work online for one of the employers. So is it an online or in person or on site? right? So these can be, for example, when I did the interview for my online job, I kind of did some research about what are the things that companies who have online workers are concerned about. So I had answers for things like, what happens if your computer goes down? I had some backup plans in case we had a thunderstorm and my internet got cut off, you know, or my computer suddenly didn't work that day. So I did some research and was able to have answers for those kinds of questions when I did the eventual interview. Also, experience with technology. I was able to explain my educational technology experience and how that translated. So that's how you kind of do it. And some, like I said, some of these things overlap: who, what, when, where, why, how, if you want to do it. How you want to have a clean, professional. And you can answer this question differently. This is how I answer it. Creative, I would want a creative list qualification. Something that makes it stand out, but is still correct, proofread. So that's how you would use the reporter's questions on an assignment. So let's say we're using it on our next assignment, which is where you talk about your experience with language, whether it's writing, reading, songs, song lyrics, learning to read, learning to write. And then you brainstorm, maybe take one experience that, you know, when you think about what are the memories you have about reading or writing. So we do song lyrics, and then, you know, who's involved, you know, the bands you like. What are the most popular bands right now, or and singers? Who's your current favorite?
What do you want to do on your free time?
So you like to listen to one of the things that you do in your free time? Listen to music? Okay, Claire, welcome back. Kind of into 70s gold at the moment. Yeah, that was my childhood. Anybody else listen to something like Pandora or Spotify? What's on your list? I like folk music. Mine. What else do you guys have? I'm really behind on who the current music is. I used to when I was younger. No. I like different eras of music. 70s, 80s, 60s. Selena, Bad Bunny. Morgan Wallen just get in trouble. What does he? What kind of music is he? Anybody like music outside of the United States? My mom, gosh. See, I like K-dramas, which are Korean dramas. Somehow I got her interested, and now she's like obsessed with Korean boy bands. It's really kind of unnerving, but okay, she's having fun. So K-pop is big. A lot of times on Twitter, they'll post that it's Quintanilla, Banda, Maluma. Well, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna just look into some of this music. Sounds interesting. Salsa, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I like to look, do you ever get in a mood? Like when you're like I get under when like I'm in certain moods for certain music. That makes sense. There's certain music you listen to when you're sad or happy. I like country when I'm sad. I like Chris Stapleton. Just has sort of like a really bluesy sound. Let's see. And why? What does music do for us? Why do we listen to music? Acoustic covers, yeah, I like that. I have one playlist that's folk for sleep, just kind of mellow. It's on Amazon. Catharsis. That's one reason. Okay, thanks for hanging in there, Isabella. Catharsis means the music expresses the feelings for you. It helps you get those feelings out, right? Fun. I like to listen to certain music while I'm cleaning. I can't listen to music with words when I'm writing. Yeah, it can pep up your mood, right? Yeah, party, happiness. Songs are great because they have a lot of figurative language, which we'll be talking about, which is creative use of language, like comparing things we know about to things we're unfamiliar with to help people see how we see the world. So similes, metaphors, hyperbole. We'll talk about all of these great things. You guys are already familiar with them. You just don't realize what they're called because songs use them pretty extensively. Figurative language, you know. So yeah, sometimes when I want to read, I listen to certain music. I like classical when I'm reading or sleeping. How do you get your music? I have Amazon Prime, Nora, Spotify, Apple. I've had trouble with Apple. Yeah, maybe they're better because it's been a while since I've tried them. YouTube, yeah, you can watch a lot of the videos now on YouTube. So yeah, it just kind of gives you an idea of what you know about the topic, right? So hopefully you get the idea of how you use the reporter's questions. I mean, you can use any of the other techniques we talked about also for these. We have used them for this in the past. Same thing for music. You can see maybe it brings out different aspects of the topic using a couple different brainstorming methods. And then you get all of this that you can take into your essay, and you can decide maybe you want to focus on why you like certain different periods of music. Maybe you want to talk about how music affects your mood, and how the language expresses, you know, thoughts, feelings. All right. So keep that in mind is also another potential, so that you can take it from that pre-writing stage, right, where you've got all the material. And then you go into drafting, which is what you guys are doing for tomorrow, or hopefully already started doing. Remember, you're just starting to put it into that format we've talked about. You're not going to worry as much about grammar, spelling, or punctuation at this stage. It doesn't mean you'll never worry about it, but this time you're trying to get as much material down, as much about your education, as much about your job experience, write as much as you can. And then after, we'll talk about revising a little bit tomorrow before we break up into the groups to look at it. You can use Canva. I mean, if you have something else you prefer already, you can use that too, but Canva is a good place to find lots of different types of resumes. And then you can download it as a PDF. Everybody remember? Let me go over that real quick. So once you click on the resumes and you find one you like, okay. And then when you're done, you can go up here, right, and click on this down arrow and download it. Like I said, for this assignment, you can turn it in as a PDF as opposed to a Word document, and you hit download. That'll save it either to your McKendree cloud or your computer, whichever you choose. And then you upload it just like you would for the other assignments that you've been uploading. So that'll be for this. The cover letter can be a Word document. You don't submit it on Canva, you submit the assignment on Brightspace. Let's go look where. So if you remember, if you're on the home page, if an assignment is due and you want to find it quickly, here it is. It's due for tomorrow. You don't have to turn in the actual physical copies until midnight, but I want you to have them for class to work on. So you click on it, and it's not going to show it for me, but if I had it in student view, it would show it. It would give you guys a place to download it. So you can download both the documents. Okay. Or you can go up here under assignments. Show you the student view. And you can look through the list. Okay, so we're not to the final yet. You're working on your first draft. Good questions. Yes, Maria, you can do Canva. By tomorrow at midnight, but bring the draft to class to work on. And as you can see, once you go down here, it'll have the date that it's due. Okay. We haven't got to this, guys, so don't worry about this one. My fault. I have to move this one. We're not quite ready there. Just worry about the first draft of the resume and cover letter. Yeah, you need a draft at least. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be polished, but it has to have, you know, stuff that you want to get feedback on from everyone in class. All right, let's talk a little bit about parallelism again. So this is the page I showed you guys yesterday briefly, because when you list things on a resume, you want to put them in the same grammatical pattern so that it's smooth and it doesn't jar your reader. So when you have a list, in this case, these are things that Mary likes to do. She likes to go hiking, swimming, and biking. So you can see they're using the gerund, the ing, repetition, and keeping it the same for all three of her hobbies, right? Or you could say Mary likes to hike, to swim, and to ride a bicycle. That's also parallel. It's following the same pattern. Same thing if you want to drop the to form. Mary likes to hike, swim, and ride a bicycle. So you don't want to mix the forms. So you don't want to have this to be to ride and then these two to be hiking and swimming, because it breaks the pattern. Okay. Same thing here. This one isn't parallel. These are all ly. They are adverbs ending in ly. He wants to write his report quickly, accurately, and thoroughly. That honors the pattern, and it's smoother to read for your reader. Okay. The teacher said he was a poor student because he waited until the last minute to study, completed his lab problems in a careless manner, and his motivation was low. And you can see each of these phrases. So I said it's not just objects that we list, they can also be phrases. So he waited, completed, and this one should be what? It should be another ed word. So you have to, and again, this is a thing that when you're drafting, you're not as worried about. When we go back and revise, you want to make sure it's parallel. So the teacher said he was a poor student because he waited, completed, and lacked motivation. So that's how it would look with clauses. The coach told the players they should get a lot of sleep, that they should not eat too much, and to do some warm-up exercises. You see, it breaks the pattern, right? So to revise it, you want to match the pattern that goes with the other phrases in the list. Same thing down here. The salesman expected that he would present his product, that he would have time to show his slideshow, and that questions would be asked by prospective buyers. This is not parallel because of a passive construction puts the subject at the end of the sentence. So in this case, the prospective buyers are receiving the action, and so it breaks the pattern. So he would present, he would have time, and prospective buyers would ask him questions. So in order for it to be parallel, you have to have subject, verb, and because otherwise that questions would be asked by, in addition to being just wordy and awkward, breaks the pattern of having a subject and then the verb after it. Okay. You have an actor, you want the actor at the front of the sentence most of the time, and then the verb. So how does this look on a resume? Let's take a look. So this is how it would look if you're listing things. Did I close Canva? Let's look at one of the resumes and see how they're using the parallel structure. This one may not be as great an example, but taught, grade school students, helped. So these are all past tense verbs. Taught, helped, came up with lesson plans. You guys follow me? So that's how the list would look if you put them on your resume. So prepared weekly reports, audited incoming accounts, attended weekly meetings. So you see how they've got the past tense, ed, wrote, Now that breaks the pattern because it breaks, you know, how we use write, wrote, you know, it's a different verb pattern for the past tense. So note that each bullet point begins with a verb in the past tense. Okay. If you don't like the ED, you can do the active: purchasing merchandise, setting up displays, organizing staff, balancing accounts. Okay. Same thing when you're doing lists in your paragraph, if you do it with your cover letter. My personal characteristics, my experience, and my degree make me the perfect candidate. So you see how it's kind of got a rhythm to it. It's got sort of a satisfaction to finding the pattern in what you're saying. So let's try it out. Find 3 of your qualifications. And list them like you would in a parallel format. So I'll give you an example. Teaches a variety of learners. Constructs lesson plans. This will be for mine. So teaches, constructs. So what do I need? What kind of verb? Present tense, right? Teaches, constructs, oversees, multiple projects. Okay, you guys get the idea? So find 3 qualifications you want to list and show them to me in a parallel format. You can do present tense, you can do past tense, you can do ing, whatever you think is going to work for you. And then the other thing is, if you have these lists in your resume, you don't have to, if you start using the past tense, like you go to a totally different list under a different category, you don't have to stick with the ED. It's just when you have one central list that you want to stay parallel. So on your next list, if you wanted to use ing words, that would be fine. It's just within the list that you want to keep them all the same. Does that make sense? So show me your list. Put it in the comments. I'll put some verbs in here if you guys are looking for. Anyone have one we can look at quickly before we're about to run out of time here? Got a couple more minutes. Doesn't have to be one that you'll use. It can just be like trying it out. This is one of those skills, parallelism, that takes your writing from being fairly basic to being more polished and showing that you've been to college, right? Learned all the things that college writers should know, are aware of how to make your writing more sophisticated. Please in the chat, let's see, we have less than a minute, so we'll pick this up tomorrow, but remember to bring your drafts to work on in class so we can look at them and give you feedback. Okay. And then you'll exchange probably over email and be able to give each other some feedback. All right. I will be on after this. If you have questions or concerns, I'll open up another session now. Okay. So I'll see you either tomorrow or in a minute in the new session.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.